Welcome back to another unboxing with local multiplayer. We're looking at SUPERPi CASE by RetroFlag. This one's compatible with the Raspberry Pi 3B+, 3B, 2B, and the B+. Let's have a look right after the intro. Alright, so on the left hand side we have a Raspberry Pi with its AC adapter, which is just a micro SD AC adapter. Plugs into the wall. On the right hand side we have a case that is the SUPERPi CASE by RetroFlag. As we mentioned earlier, it supports the Raspberry Pi 3B+, 3B, 2B, and the B+ as well. Now we could have used any case. You can either make your own case, you can use various different other cases for this project. But we definitely love these RetroFlag cases and we want it to look like a Super Nintendo, so that's what we're doing here. So let's take out the box with the Raspberry Pi. It includes a heatsink, which we're not going to be using for this project, and the AC adapter. So let's take that out and show you what I was talking about earlier. Just a regular AC adapter plug that plugs right into the wall. Now the one we're looking at here is the one that's compatible in North America. Let's take out the Raspberry Pi. How do we open this one? There we go. And there you have it. There's our Raspberry Pi. So what are some of the things that you can do? You can create a little mini Windows machine, a Linux box, you can create a magic mirror, but we're actually going to be turning it into an emulation station. We're going to be using RetroPie, which is software that's made to run all of these classic consoles on the Raspberry Pis. So there you have it. You have the actual SUPERPi case. There is a screwdriver and instruction manuals included as well. And in this kit, they also threw in a USB Super Nintendo controller. Just a standard Super Nintendo controller. We're not going to be using that either. We're going to stick with Bluetooth wireless controllers instead. There's a tool. There's the instruction manual. We don't need that. Definitely no the controller, as we mentioned earlier. So we're just going to put that right back into that box. Pack it up. And let's get this project started. All right, there we go. One thing we love about this case is that it reroutes two of the USB ports to the front of the case, which is very convenient. And there's also a power adapter plug that plugs right into the board as well, that reroutes the actual on-off and reset switches. So there we go, there's the inside. It's very easy to install this Raspberry Pi into this case. When you're putting it in, we're just basically plugging in the things that I just mentioned earlier. Make sure that you plug this in correctly. There's a right way and a wrong way to plug it in. The two empty slots are on the left hand side, as you can see, the ones that do not have two wires going into it. This one's pretty straightforward. You just plug in the two USB cables into the two USB ports. So this way two of them will remain on the side and two of them will be on the front of the case. So on the top part there's only three screws that we're going to be plugging in. When we actually close the case, there's 4 on the underneath side. So let's get this open and get it started. Remember, it's a fun little project that you can put together. There are other cases available. There's one for the Genesis that looks like a Genesis console. There's one that looks like a NES console. There's even the European version of the Super Nintendo, which we're going to show you all of these later on in future videos. As well as there's a small case for the Game Boy. Now unfortunately the Game Boy version does not accept the Raspberry Pi due to its size. You have to use a Raspberry Pi Zero, which is a little bit underpowered. It will not let you run everything this one does. So let's get those screws into it and quickly show you what it looks like. Now remember, there's a screw here, here, and there. Even though there are 4 screw holes, there's only 3 that are being used on this side. And there you have it. We're almost there. Now the top portion fits right on to the bottom portion of the case. And it's just a matter of aligning it correctly and flipping it upside down, so that we can get the other 4 screws underneath the case to hold it in place. This part you got to be a little bit careful. Make sure you apply pressure to the portion that you're screwing in the little screws so that they hold them tightly. You don't want the case coming apart if it's very loose. And there you have it, fully assembled and ready for the software. Let's get rid of some of this stuff and clear out the desk. There is a little side door that you can install to hide the 2 USB ports and the network connection as well. If you're going to use it wireless, you don't need to keep that open, and you already have 2 USB ports in the front, which we're also not going to use. We're going to be using wireless controllers. And there's the AC adapter. Just simply plug that in, plug in your HDMI, and all you're missing now is a micro SD with the software that you're going to be using for this project. Like we mentioned, we're going to be using RetroPi on the Raspberry Pi in a SuperPi case by RetroFlag. Now, one thing we did state is we chose this case because we love how it looks. We had a lot of fun with the actual Super Nintendo. We love the Super Nintendo Mini that was released by Nintendo, and we had to make a project using the same type of case. We just love it that much. Look at that, looks beautiful. There's those 2 USB ports that are routed to the front using the 2 USB connections on the inside that we plugged in. There's your HDMI and micro USB connection that you can use. Now, one thing it also does include is it does include an eject button at the top. No, unfortunately, you can't install cartridges or stick them inside this case. However, it does have space for other micro SDs. So if you want to store them in here, you can. We're not going to, we're just going to use one, but here's an option for you. Hope you all enjoy this unboxing and install. See you in the next one.